Hi, this is Scott from Spectre Gear, and for today's video, we're back with another tactical shotgunner pro tip. And for today, well, this is not necessarily a shooting technique. This is a professional gun handling technique, and it's a safety issue. So, following this technique and using these procedures are going to mark you as a person who's competent and a person that knows their weapon system versus someone who's honestly going to be perceived as a bit of a bubba and probably doesn't know their shotgun very well at all. And what we're talking about here is the administrative unloading of your shotgun. So what I mean by that is you could have a round chambered, you might not. You could have 2 rounds in a magazine tube or a full mag tube, but the idea is to get all of the ammunition out of the gun and render the gun safe. Now, the process for doing that, there's 2 ways to do it. There's the right way and the wrong way. Both achieve the result of getting the ammo out of the gun, but one is safer and one is not. And one, like I said, makes sure you look like a bubba, and the other one makes sure you look like a person who knows shotguns. So take it how you will. So let me show you the bubba technique, and the bubba technique is this. The person grabs the shotgun, hits the action release, and just goes to town and cycles all the rounds out of the mag tube into the chamber and onto the ground or a hat or a trunk of a car. And if you're a road deputy and you ever get caught doing that, you're going to get yourself a serious ass chewing. I can guarantee you that. In any event, while that does get the ammo out of the gun, it's not the safest way to do it. It tears up the ammunition if you do it enough. And you're also, every time you're running that slide, you're introducing a live piece of ammunition into the chamber when it doesn't need to be there. And it's little things like that. It's little erosions of safety technique that are going to eventually get you or someone else hurt. So there's a safer way of doing it, and it also looks one heck of a lot more professional, and it is simply the right way to do it. So let's first talk about the shotguns we're going to be doing today, because when it comes to pump action shotguns, and I'm only going to be talking about pump actions, I don't mess with auto loading shotguns. That's a topic for someone else. I'm a pump action shotgun kind of guy, and I'll cover why in another video. But we've got 2 different weapon systems here that have distinctly different operating systems within. We have the Mossberg 500, 590 type guns, and we have the Remington 870. And whichever shotgun you have, if it's not an 870 or a 500 or 590 Mossberg, the chances are good that it's going to be one of these operating systems that are going to be used inside the gun. And it can be best identified by the position of the lifter at rest. You'll note that with the Mossberg, the shell lifter rests in the upward position, and with the Remington, it rests in the downward position. So there's a little bit of a different technique needed for each of these guns. So let's talk about the Mossberg first. But before I talk about actually unloading the shotgun, let me talk about the ammunition I'm going to be using. This is a box of Remington dummy loads. I bought these probably 20 years ago. I got it from Brownells, tag still on the box. But it is a round of ammunition that has no powder. It's got a dead primer. It's got a clear hull. It has dummy written on both sides, and this is what I use exclusively for practice. When it comes to practice ammunition for shotguns, what you want to avoid if you're thinking about buying any of this stuff is the orange ones. I think Safety Trainer is the one that makes them. At least they did back in the day, and they're okay, but one of the problems is they're plastic, and this brittle plastic at that, and the extractors will tear the rims off pretty quickly. And I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but you can see how these are pretty scuffed up because I use these for select slug drill practice, and they're constantly being cycled through the chamber. But it sort of gives you an idea of what's going to happen to your duty ammunition if you're constantly cycling it through the gun. It's going to get banged up. The holes are going to get banged up. The crimps are going to start getting loose. So you don't really want to do that. But this is safe ammunition that I'm using for the purposes of this drill, and I'm in a room that has no shotgun ammunition anywhere around. So let's start off by loading in a couple of rounds of ammunition, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to download the Mossberg 500 rather than cycle the rounds through the chamber. And it's as simple as this. There are 2 sides of the receiver to pick from. You have the ejection port side and the non-ejection port side. On the non-ejection port side, inside of the loading port here, there's a little there's a little piece of metal you can see on the side, and it kind of has a hook on the end. That's your shell stop. That's what's holding the shell in place and keeping it from escaping the mag tube. Now, as you cycle the bolt to the rear, at one point, there's an actual projection that gets tripped on the inside, and it moves this back and allows the shell, or allows one round out of the magazine onto the lifter so that you can introduce it into the chamber. So what we're going to do is just simply override that. So we're going to take our finger, whichever finger you want, doesn't matter. We're going to reach in, and we're just going to press in on that shell stop. Now, occasionally this will happen. It'll just pop out just a little bit. And I was trying to set this up on a previous iteration of this video, and I couldn't get it. If that happens, all you simply need to do is just put your finger on the base of the shell and just move up slightly, and it'll pop right out. Now, most of the time, yeah, there we go again. And that's all there is to it. Now, if you are holding the gun vertically, or rather in a more traditional format, all you're simply going to do is reach in. It's just going to fall right out into your hand, just like so. But simple and easy to perform. So one more time I'll show you. We drop two in, we press, and out they come. At that point, if there was a round chambered, just simply run the action to the rear. It's going to eject the ammunition, verify clear, and we are good to go. It's as simple as that. It's safe. You're not cycling any rounds into the chamber, and you're going to look like you know what you're doing. Now let's move to the 870, because there's one similar characteristic, but there is an additional step or two involved. So with the 870, as I mentioned, we've got this lifter, and this lifter is going to be something we're going to have to overcome. So we're going to load 2 rounds in. Now here we're going to do something a little bit different. What you're going to do is, as you hit the action release, you want to do something very important at the forend. And this is one of the reasons you want to have a short forend on your shotgun. If you have a long sporter forend that extends down here and ends up covering up the ejection port when the action is to the rear, you want to get rid of that. It's one of the reasons, aside from the gun locks that law enforcement agencies used for many years, there's another important reason why this forend is so short at the rear. So we're going to take our little finger and we're going to put it right at the base of the forend. We're going to hit our action release, and we're going to run the action to the rear until our little finger is pinched between the front of the receiver and our forend. Now, if there was a round in the chamber, the round will pop out. But something to note is that the lifter is still in the downward position. Now, if I continue to move this to the rear, the lifter, or the shell, is going to release, and it's going to release onto the lifter. Now, if that happens, let me show you what will happen. So if I move it too far to the rear, that shell is going to pop out. Now you'll note, pretty easy to still get it out. But to get the remaining rounds out, you're going to need to move that lifter down. But let me set up the original loading sequence. So again, finger behind the forend, pinch it between the front of the receiver and the forend. At that point, what you want to do is press the lifter down, take the forend, move it the remaining distance to the rear. Now it pops out so it can be extracted easily. At this point, we're going to use the same technique we used with the Mossberg, but this time it's on the other side. It's on the ejection port side. The shell stop is here, and we're going to press that in, and the round is going to pop out. So let me show you that one more time without interruption. Let's go ahead and load 2 in. Okay, we have 2 rounds in. Finger behind the forend, run it to the rear till it pinches. At that point, press the lifter all the way down, run the action to the rear, extract out, hit the shell stop to extract the remaining rounds. And now your gun's unloaded. And as I mentioned, running it all the way to the rear, or rather at the pinch point, any round that's in the chamber would have popped out already. But we're going to verify clear by inspecting the chamber visually, physically. Everything looks good. Another reason for the high visibility follower, by the way, is that you can see the difference between the follower and a live piece of ammunition there. There's also a little nub on there that you can feel that shouldn't be there if there was a piece of ammunition there. That's another little pro tip. That's something you always want to get. I'll talk more about these in a future video. But that is administrative loading and unloading of your shotgun. Now, as I mentioned, other guns that share some of the same common characteristics, for instance, this procedure for the 870 works with the Winchester 1200 and 1300 series. There's a few other guns out there that also mirror the same Remington 870 stuff on the inside. Not familiar with too many that copy the Mossberg, but there might be some out there. But that is it in a nutshell. So with that, I'll bring it to a close. Thank you for watching. This is Scott from Spectre Gear. Have a wonderful day.